Mhm. I mean, so before this recording, we were kind of talking about branding in crypto, right? A lot of protocols are just DeFi, and some are institutional. So even in my question, I kind of framed it like I understood it from a DeFi perspective. But then, how do you, as a company, kind of grow your brand to like attract institutions? Like that's one of my main questions, right? Like how do you get brands to talk to you guys, and like what does the BD even look like? Like is it going to take an effort from us to reach out to them? Because I feel like if we wait and watch for institutions to like come to crypto, build products on chain, they're going to think about, okay, I have a tokenized fund, let me tokenize it on Ethereum. But then later on, they're going to realize that there are so many other chains. So it's almost like we have to go to them and kind of educate, right? So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Education's like the number one thing that all of these teams are working on right now. A lot of these funds are like excited. They hear about crypto. They aren't quite sure what that means. They hear like somebody reaches out to them about potentially tokenizing their fund and they're, reading into it. But I think like on the fundamental level, a lot of these institutions still don't fully understand like what a blockchain is. And so I think what we try to do when we engage with institutions is to make sure that the value is clear from the fundamental layer, and then make sure that they can better understand like the role that interoperability plays. Making sure that that's again part of their initial design and how they think about the space in this natively multi-chain view. The branding piece is fun. I think there's always like this push pull in the crypto space between wanting to, engage with your community, be able to like publish DeFi native content and like crypto native content that people like really resonate with. That's like catchy on crypto Twitter, but it can't come at a cost to your like professional presence with institutions. So it's about finding that balance and like using different like mediums for different types of content. So obviously LinkedIn's going to be a little bit more buttoned up. What we do on crypto Twitter might be a little bit more informal and casual. But I think at the end of the day, like the core values that we want to communicate to both retail and like users and institutions is always going to be security as number one. And that's not something that we'll ever joke about. And that like theme continues to get communicated just in slightly different ways.
So how do you guys describe like the current understanding of institutions? So like, is it Ethereum, Solana, or do they are they aware of the hundreds of chains that are there and the fact that you have to maybe just like build for the entire ecosystem through Interop protocols?
Nikhil, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think so most know of Ethereum. Most know of Solana, especially with Solana's been growing a lot recently. Most will know about, have some kind of understanding of the L2 ecosystem, but I think a lot of it comes back to what Katya was saying. A lot of it is like they want to learn where it makes sense to go. And as an interop protocol, that's like a unique value add that we can provide because we are live on a lot of different chains. We have not only built integrations for a lot of different chains, we've not only shipped products on a lot of different chains, we've tapped into those communities as well. We kind of have our growth team, our BD team, our technical team. So our growth and BD team has a really good sense of like the communities and the ecosystem and the projects on all these different chains. Not only because we've integrated, but because we've evaluated for connecting via Wormhole. And the technical team has a really good understanding of everything that goes into actually building a product for this chain. So let's say you want to go to some new nascent VM chain that's not EVM or not Solana VM. Our technical team can provide like a lot of guidance on what does it actually mean to build in this new VM. Is it going to be really complicated? Is it going to kind of eat up a ton of development timeline, or is it kind of similar to other things that are there? So I think that is definitely one of the unique value adds that partnering with interop protocols has for institutions, which is that we have that experience across so many different chains and we can provide that guidance because I think ultimately they're looking for that guidance on like outside of the big chains. We know there's this massive ecosystem to tap into. What makes the most sense to go to and where makes the most sense to prioritize?
Makes sense. So it's kind of like they know about Ethereum, they know about Solana, but then they're aware that there's a bigger ecosystem out there, but they don't know what's the right step. So it's kind of like, I wouldn't say hand holding, but just giving pointers because like we do this 24/7 and this is all we know about. So this is where you can like tap into the next big market.
Yeah, exactly.
Katya, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think like the institutions aren't going to be scrolling through crypto Twitter. I think like that's like the fundamental way that I find out about new chains for the most part. I do think that like there are certain clusters of the ecosystem that they're super aware of. Like I think Bitcoin has really resonated with a lot of these teams globally. Like a lot of central banks are like really excited about building Bitcoin reserves and exploring what like digital currency could look like for them. And then I'll also say that I think like some of these ecosystem teams have done a really great job of building their communities. Like OP Superchain is something that's like really compelling and something that is easier for institutions to understand other than needing to understand all of the different chains that are within that ecosystem. So like obviously I'm wearing the OP red right now, but like OP, Arbitrum Orbit, like ZK Sync, they've all done really great jobs in building relationships with these institutions and helping them kind of start to cross that knowledge gap and introducing them into their ecosystems instead of having to like have all of these independent chains do outreach themselves.
I mean, so you guys are based in the US. Like after the elections, have you seen any increase in appetite for crypto, or like is it just something that I'm getting on Twitter at this point?
I mean, it was pretty exciting to see that one of the board members of the Securitized team um, is now being elected as is put up for the position of crypto czar. So we'll see what that looks like. I think excitement is definitely there. I think everybody's kind of waiting with bated breath to see how the next year follows through. I think nothing's changed just yet, but Gary Gensler stepping down was kind of a shock, at least to me.
Not to me. I feel like that was gonna happen. But anyways, I think I agree with Katya. I think there's a lot more excitement. I think we'll probably see a lot more inbound coming from institutions, given the kind of new administration that's in place. That's a lot more crypto friendly, and at least the expectation that like the SEC is going to have a lot more crypto friendly regulations, and a lot of crypto people talking about moving to New York, which is a signal.
Bullish. I mean, it's also going to be interesting to see how this like regulation actually evolves. I do think everybody, like Micah was the first to really set like strong legislation around crypto assets. I think it'll take time for us to still continue to have strong regulation in the US. But there's a lot of great like teams that are working on this. Like Rebecca Reddick has been doing a lot of time, working on Capitol Hill, helping teams understand. So I think it's just like there's a lot of excitement now. I think the follow through is going to be really critical, but we have a lot of great crypto native folks who are going to help inform that.